Facebook's Oversight Board has ruled that Trump will remain banned on Facebook and on Instagram. Let's talk about this story. Let's also talk about Trump's desk, the Trump Desk, his new website. And let's talk about how Twitter has already started banning the Trump Desk. And let's also talk about Facebook and the censorship in general. Some final thoughts on that. We'll also dive into Mark Meadows on Fox News and how he believes it is now finally time. Yes, Mark Meadows and many other Republicans believe it is finally time that the U.S. government address the Facebook and the big tech monopoly. Yeah, finally time. Mark Meadows. All right, guys, first let's start with a meme here from Mark Dice, the great Mark Dice. And I love this quote from Mark Dice. Twitter is the engine that is driving the crazy train of society. And he has his liberalism find a cure shirt. All right, there. So a great meme, a great quote from the great Mark Dice. Let's get into the story. Facebook Oversight Board upholds Trump ban, but says it was inappropriate for site to make suspension indefinite. So Facebook's Oversight Board has upheld the social network's decision to ban Donald Trump following the January 6th storming of the Capitol. However, it criticized the way in which Trump was banned in vague and indefinite terms. In a statement on Wednesday, the board announced that it upholds Facebook's decision on January 7, 2021 to restrict then-President Donald Trump's access to posting content on his Facebook page and Instagram account. However, it was not appropriate for Facebook to impose the indeterminate and standardless penalty of indefinite suspension. The statement continued, pointing out that Facebook's normal penalties include removing the violating content, imposing a time-bound period of suspension, or permanently disabling the page and account. The board went on to recommend that Facebook review the situation to determine and justify a proportionate response that is consistent with the rules that are applied to other users of its platform, and that it should do so within 6 months. So Facebook has this oversight board. I believe it's like 12 or 14 people. 90% of them, 95% of them are on the George Soros payroll, which is interesting. And basically, Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, they make these decisions, and then the oversight board judges these decisions. And I don't think it surprises anybody that the oversight board would go along with Facebook's decision. Or actually, I don't even understand why they have this show trial oversight board thing. It's really bizarre, this oversight board to begin with. Usually in a company, the CEO and the executive team makes a decision, and that's that. In this case, banning President Trump. A terrible decision. A decision that should have triggered the government to act, but they didn't. And that speaks volumes. That alone speaks volumes. A normal functioning government would have reacted to Facebook removing the president. You know, that's a given. But obviously what we're seeing in the United States is something that is very far away from a functioning government. Anyway, so that's the Facebook Oversight Board, Facebook's Ministry of Truth right there. The Zuckbot and his Oversight Board. So Trump has created this site, this desk of Donald J. Trump. Him and his social media team have created kind of a Trump mini blog. And Trump can now post his ideas, his thoughts, his opinions on certain matters outside of social media without having to worry about getting banned. You have the Save America logo right there. You have contribute buttons to contribute money. You can get alerts. And here you can see Trump's posts. I'm used to saying Trump's tweets. But you do have buttons here to share on Facebook and on Twitter. So people can see these thoughts from Trump, and they can share them on Facebook and Twitter. And I think this is kind of stupid. Maybe it's a troll from Trump, maybe it's not, but I think it's kind of stupid to put these buttons there, because there's no doubt that sooner or later, Facebook and Twitter, if they haven't already, are going to ban links coming from the desk of Donald J. Trump. And here you can see that Twitter has already started doing this. Someone created an account of Trump's posts from this desk of Donald J. Trump. They actually created a Twitter account, and they started to mirror what he would post on this microblog site of his, and they would put it onto Twitter. And immediately the SJWs on Twitter had a freak out, a real freak out, and they created the hashtag #RemoveTrumpJack, and they called on Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey to start banning and blocking this Twitter account. And of course, Jack Dorsey did so. Of course he would. And this just to me, this is just the beginning of all the big tech companies banning anything that comes out of this website from Trump, this desk of Donald J. Trump. So why they bothered to put the Facebook and the Twitter buttons there, I don't know. I'm not very impressed with Trump's social media team at all. Not very impressed with them at all. And like I said, I'll give them maybe a 5% that they're trolling Facebook and Twitter by putting these buttons over there. But I don't think so, because I think behind Trump's social media team is Kushner and Brad Parscale, I believe is his name. And I think they're looking at ways at monetizing the Trump name on big tech. So I think they actually want to have this stuff shared on Facebook and Twitter. I don't understand why they haven't realized that the minute these posts get shared on Facebook and Twitter, that Twitter and Facebook would not block them right away. And we see that's exactly what they're doing. Trump's social media strategy, at first I thought, okay, maybe he should put together a social media site. But I think that Trump and the Trump family and the billionaires in and around Trump, including Lindell, should just invest in an existing Twitter, Facebook competitor. Right now, I think the company that's best positioned for that investment is Gab. Probably Gab and BitChute, Odyssey, I think, are in the best position right now. So it's so much better to just invest in these companies that have a proven track record, that have withstood the big tech attacks, and they've prospered and flourished even after having big tech attack them. Invest in them, put 30, 40, 50 million in Gab, BitChute, Odyssey. I mean, that's with the assumption that Gab, BitChute, and Odyssey are looking for investment. Meet with their executives, put money in those networks, and then you can really sink Twitter. I mean, you could really, really sink Twitter. And getting rid of Twitter would be the first major victory in dismantling the Silicon Valley social media cartel. Anyway, you have Mark Meadows here, who was on Fox News and said that it's time to break up Twitter and Facebook. And here you have the Zuckerbot. And let's hear what the Zuckerbot has to say. Fusion between man and robot, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook.
Other company doing. So you were the chief of staff.
So we didn't let's hear.
Other company doing.
Okay, we had a small little excerpt from
Zuck.
You were the chief. Anyway, there's Meadows right there, the former chief of staff of Trump. He's with Bill Hemmer and Dana Perino. Dana Perino, who was the the White House press secretary under Bush, neocon through and through with the George W. Bush White House. It's a sad day for America, says Meadows. It's a sad day for Facebook, because I can tell you a number of members of Congress are now looking at do they break up Facebook? Do they make sure they don't have a monopoly? Meadows asked rhetorically on America's Newsroom. I can tell you it's two different standards, one for Donald Trump and one for a number of other people that are on the sites. Finally, oh, thank God, finally Congress has awakened to the fact that you have a big tech problem in America, and you have a double standards problem in America, and Congress has to address this Facebook problem, and perhaps they need to break up Facebook. Congratulations, Mark Meadows. And Fox News, of course, for bringing this to our attention. It's so ridiculous. These guys are just gaslighting the crap out of us. How many opportunities has Congress had in the last, 6 years? Definitely the last 4 years to address the big tech monopoly problem, and they haven't done anything. Zero. And now you have Mark Meadows, a DC insider, saying, after this Oversight Board's decision to uphold the ban on Trump, I think we have a big tech problem and we need to think about what we're going to do with that. When we know you're not going to do anything about that because you're all in the pockets of Facebook, Google, and Twitter, and Amazon and Apple. So they're not going to do anything. They just continue to gaslight the American public and the world with regards to Facebook and big tech and their far-reaching powers, which is kind of silly because we've given so much power to social networks. It's really ridiculous. But anyway, that is where we are. Mark Meadows going on Fox News once again talking about how they need to address the Facebook problem. Trump had an opportunity to address it as well, and he didn't. For various reasons, he did not address that problem. He had that opportunity, he didn't fix it, and it came back and bit him in the ass during the November elections. So anyway, guys, that is what's going on with Facebook, with their oversight board, upholding the decision to keep Trump banned from the platform.